The next chapter is about to begin. Join us live every Tuesday and Thursday for brand new episodes of the American Contractor Show. Our mission is to bring you the latest tools, innovations, and knowledge to help you become the most informed contractor in your market. Knowledge is the ultimate power, and we are connecting you with the most knowledgeable minds in our industry. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. American Contractors, I hope you're ready. This one's for you.
This is Larry Bache with the Merlin Law Group, helping policyholders for more than 30 years. If you have a claim or your client has a claim that needs help, please feel free to call the Merlin Law Group because we are the true policyholder advocate.
C3 was eager to help us, and even whenever we weren't giving them work, they were still eager to give advice. The things that they were putting out for the for changing from DMO to RFG and giving that to the industry and not charging anything for it, I thought was really cool. And that's stuff that I, as a contractor, appreciate. I'd recommend C3 to any contractor that's looking for a PA, especially if you're around Colorado. Great guys, man. I'm nothing but happy with the work they've done for us.
Happy Friday, everyone. Lead meteorologist Sean Choquette here for our daily forecast, sponsored as always by C3 Group, Merlin Law Group, and RS Settlement and Balance Claims. Check them out in the description below if you're watching us here on our Facebook page. So I got weather headlines for you today, and the biggest thing we're talking about, actually the only thing we're talking about here, is looking at the hailstorms that didn't quite make it to the 2020 list. So the honorable mentions. We have the number 1 storm coming next week. So we're going to go over everything that missed the list and also a handful of international storms I decided not to put in the top 10, mainly because they probably would have taken up the top couple of them, so I didn't really want to have the number 1 be in like Canada or something. So no severe weather is expected going into this weekend. And finally, vote for Hailtrace for the Win the Storm Awards Vendor of the Year. It's in the description below. There's a link to it. Regardless of what platform you're watching us on, you can go check it out there. Please give us a vote. That'd be fantastic. Get your vote, guys. Thank you. So anyway, top 10, what we were doing for the rankings. You guys know the drill. We were talking about that all week and all before Christmas and New Year's as well. And we're just jumping straight into those honorable mentions. So you guys know number 2 through 10. The first of the honorable mentions that didn't quite make it was the March 27th Oklahoma storms. It was Oklahoma City and Tulsa and over towards the Grove area along Grand Lake. It was one of the first storms of the year. I think it was one of the very first storms of the year. I'm trying to remember before COVID at this point. And we had 3-inch hail impact the Grand Lake area. And the biggest thing that really kept us from putting this on the list is the fact that the storm moved very quickly through Oklahoma City and Tulsa as well. So we had 2-inch hail in the city of Oklahoma City, but unfortunately there was not a ton of it. It was moving pretty fast, so in a couple minute hail times here. Both these pictures are from Northwest OKC, and then the ones right behind me here, the bigger hail, that was just all along Grand Lake near the Grove area. So that was the first of the honorable mentions. We had another storm, a pretty good storm, didn't quite make the list. Was the only real storm that impacted Colorado Front Range this year. The August 5th Colorado spring storm. Yes, Colorado ended up having kind of a bust of a year in 2020, but it did have that one good storm in Colorado Springs on August 5th at the very tail end of the season. It was the only notable event, had hail about 2 inches diameter, and the storm was moving very slowly along the mountain range and ended up really impacting the same areas that were completely annihilated in 2018 and 2019 with those record-setting storms here. Again, right along the Front Range, like where the zoo is, for example, where they got softballs multiple times over the course of a couple of years. So 2-inch hail isn't as crazy as other storms had been in the past, so it wasn't quite as damaging. A lot of new roofs. Of course, some skylights are still impacted by this storm, so it was still damaging, but it wasn't quite what we thought would be criteria for the 2020 top 10 list. And then now we have a couple of other notable storms that weren't exactly damaging. Notice this is a 3-star map, but just kind of interesting the fact that we had on May 21st in Sanford, Florida, which is in the Orlando area, we had 3-inch hail fall, which is very rare for the state of Florida. It's usually a very good storm for Florida as you get up to golf ball size hail. But we had 3-inch hail fall in the area, and unfortunately only impacted a very small area. These storms kind of pop up almost like a tropical thunderstorm. They go up and they drop their hail and they kind of die out. So it was a very slow storm, and it had just a little area there where we had that big hail. And honestly, seeing hail this large is very unusual for Florida nonetheless. Notice how it's kind of clear. It seems to be a common theme among the state of Florida. And it also did do some damage. It just wasn't anywhere near the amount of size of impact that we need. Speaking of size, we have the Burke Brunette storm from May 22nd. This was the next day. Derek was out chasing on this one. Record-setting hail potentially for the state of Texas, where we had very intense hail, over 5 inches in diameter, probably closer to 6 inches in diameter. I think the largest official measurement was like 5.33 or something along the lines of that. Absolutely incredible hail. This for sure would have been the storm of the year had it impacted the DFW Metroplex, or even into places like Austin, Abilene, any of the bigger cities across Texas. If it happened there instead of Wichita Falls, Burke Brunette area, without a doubt would have been the biggest storm of the year. And here's some pictures from this. Absolutely crazy, crazy big hail. Everything's a little bit bigger in Texas, I guess. And you can see, I personally love this picture. You can see that's all the way up. That's the sky past there. You know, the hail made it all the way into people's living rooms, because when you got 5-inch hail falling, it's going to do some serious damage. So, yeah, another crazy little storm that impacted. It didn't quite make the list, but still wanted to talk about it, the fact that it was very noteworthy and kind of crazy how big that hail was. Now we're going to go international. There were 3 storms I wanted to mention that happened internationally in areas where we do map storms. In Australia, we have 2 in Australia, and we had 1 in Canada. First of which was the very first storm we mapped in 2020. It was a 5-star map in the capital city of Canberra, Australia, where it was absolutely a crazy storm. One of the most impactful storms of the year for Australia and even possibly the planet. We had softball-sized hail hitting most of the nation's capital. It was the worst storm in the nation of Australia since the 1999 Sydney storm, which is one of the worst worst hailstorms ever to happen. We had billions of dollars in damage. This is actually the Capitol building here. See all these giant hailstones really doing tons of damage across the capital city of Australia. And that wasn't the only storm in Australia that happened this year. We had another very impactful storm. This one happened on Halloween up the coast a little further to the north in Brisbane, Australia. Again, on Halloween we had softball-sized hail yet again, which is kind of rare for Australia. You can get big hail, but typically it maxes out around baseball size. You tend not to see the Texas-sized hail like we're seeing from both the Canberra storm and this one from Brisbane. Actually absolutely pummeled the suburbs of Brisbane with softballs. $1.23 billion in damage from this storm. That's an early estimate from back in November. Probably updated a little bit more now. That is, again, probably, I'm going to tell you right now, is more damaging than the most damaging storm that happened in the United States this year. And it was the first major event for Australia's storm season, the 20 to 2021 storm season. It's happening right now. Again, it's summertime in Australia right now. They're in the southern hemisphere. So we're kind of periodically keeping an eye to see if any other major storms happen that we got to map as well. And we have a bunch of pictures from this one. You can see some really incredible damage. I mean, it takes a lot to break these solar panels. You can see this is an aerial photo of that's a lot of tiles getting completely destroyed from the roofs. And it looks like some roofers are already out there trying to tarp things up. A crazy, crazy storm. Mega hail there. So this hit very densely populated suburbs of Brisbane, and looks like a pretty wealthy area as well. So it was very impactful, very costly, and probably would have been one of the most costly storms in the world for 2020. And if I included international storms, this and then this next storm probably would have been very close to number 1 and number 2. On June 13th, Calgary was impacted with hail, and that's the wrong picture. I didn't put in the correct map on that. But Calgary, Canada was impacted at large volumes of hail, upwards of tennis ball size. And the big thing of this is there was some wind with it as well, making it the most damaging storm, the fourth most damaging storm in Canadian history, with $1.2 billion in damage. And here's some pictures here again. Large volume, I'm not kidding. Calgary is very similar to Denver, where it's just on the lee side of the Rocky Mountains, so you get all that lift and you get way more hail falling, so large quantities of hail, and you can see all of this siding absolutely shredded, along with roofs, windows, all that stuff. So it really did a number on the sections of Calgary that this storm impacted. So if I included the international storms, we probably would have had this one and the Brisbane storm trying to fight it out for possibly the number 1 seed. And then other storms that happened in 2020 that weren't in areas where we mapped. We had a absolutely incredible storm, possibly a world record, in both Argentina and a Tripoli, Libya of all places, happening earlier this year with very mega gargantuan hail of over 7 inches in diameter. And I think there was also a pretty major storm in Italy as well. So a pretty major hail year for 2020 in places other than the United States. And we'll be going over the number 1 storm for hail for 2020 next week, probably on Tuesday. Nothing for hail today, nothing for hail tomorrow or the rest of this weekend either. No severe weather at all. Actually, you're going to probably see a snowstorm here in Texas going into your Saturday and Saturday night, possibly some accumulating snow in Dallas. I know it's not coming to Oklahoma City this time, so got that to look forward to, but no hail. So follow us on all our social media platforms as always, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit see first on Facebook so you don't miss any of our posts. And as always, give us a call at 855-334-4245. Get you guys ready for the 2021 storm season. We want you to be ready to roll once those first hailstones fall. Give us an email as well, info@hailtrace.com if you don't like talking on the phone. Of course, visit our website for more details at hailtrace.com. Have a great rest of your Friday, and we'll have a wonderful weekend as well. We'll be back here on Monday at 12 p.m. where we'll be doing the honorable mentions for all the wind events in 2020 that didn't quite make the list. And again, we'll have the number 1 hailstorm on Tuesday and the number 1 wind event on Wednesday, where we'll be doing things a little bit different. Won't be on the green screen that time. So have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.